The afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the village of Umira, where Diana lay sprawled on a faded couch, absent-mindedly munching on fried plantains. At 32 years old, Diana had mastered the art of doing absolutely nothing, a lifestyle she had perfected over a decade. The TV blared in the background, airing a lively Nollywood drama, but Diana was too lazy to even reach for the remote. Instead, she stretched her leg and jabbed at the buttons with her big toe, finally lowering the volume. She yawned, adjusted the colorful kittench blanket draped over her, and prepared to nap again. In the modest kitchen of the family's home, Mrs. Avila watched her daughter's antics through a small CCTV screen hidden under a basket of onions. She sighed heavily, her frustration mounting. This wasn't the life she envisioned for Diana. Mrs. Avila, a sharp and resourceful woman, ran a small grocery shop at the village center and often scolded Diana for her lack of ambition. But Diana, as usual, brushed off her mother's words. "Diana," Mrs. Avila called out sharply, her voice cutting through the house like a knife. Diana lazily dragged herself to the kitchen doorway. "What's for dinner?" Mrs. Avila placed her hands on her hips. "Dinner. You've been eating all day. Why don't you think about helping out or, heaven forbid, finding a job?" Before Diana could retort, there was a knock on the front door. It was her cousin, Lucas, a vibrant young man who worked as an intern at a TV station in the nearby town. "Good afternoon, Auntie," Lucas greeted, handing Mrs. Avila a bag of vegetables before turning to Diana. "Still lazing around, eh?" Diana rolled her eyes. "What do you want, Lucas?" Lucas grinned mischievously. "Actually, I might have a solution for your, unique lifestyle." Mrs. Avila raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Lucas explained the premise of a new reality show he was helping produce, one that celebrated individuals with exceptionally lazy lifestyles. The winner would take home a cash prize of $5,000. Diana would be perfect for this. Tony exclaimed. "Think about it, Auntie. She gets off that couch, maybe learns a thing or two, and who knows? She might even win." Mrs. Avila's eyes sparkled with hope. $5,000, Diana, you're doing it." Diana groaned but reluctantly agreed, if only to appease her mother. A week later, Diana and her mother found themselves in a small TV studio. The bright lights and cameras made Diana squirm. During the interview, her younger sister, Lucy, tagged along and couldn't resist throwing jabs. "You're finally doing something, Diana. Miracles do happen," Lucy teased. Diana glared at her. "At least I'm brave enough to try something different." The exchange quickly escalated, and Diana stormed out in frustration. Later that day, Diana sought solace with her boyfriend, Tony, and her best friend, Emma. They met at a bustling roadside eatery, where Diana vented her frustrations over grilled chicken and a cold drink. "I'm tired of everyone treating me like a joke," Diana muttered. Tony exchanged a glance with Emma, then cleared his throat. "Actually, Diana, there's something I need to tell you." "What now?" Diana asked, already irritated. Tony hesitated. "I think we should break up." Diana froze. "What? I've met someone else," Tony admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Diana's gaze darted to Emma, who looked down at her plate. A sinking feeling settled in Diana's chest. "Emma, do you know anything about this?" Emma's silence was answer enough. Furious, Diana snatched Tony's phone and scrolled through his messages. Her hands shook as she uncovered the truth. Tony had been cheating on her with Emma. "You too." Diana's voice cracked. "How could you betray me like this?" Emma finally looked up, guilt etched across her face. "Diana, I'm pregnant." The words hit Diana like a slap. She stood abruptly, knocking over her chair. "You both disgust me," she spat before storming out. That night, as the crickets chirped outside her window, Diana lay awake, her heart heavy with betrayal. She vowed that things would change. Tomorrow, she would rise, not for her mother, not for Tony or Emma, but for herself. That night, Diana wandered through the bustling streets of Lumira, her heart heavy with anger and sadness. The aroma of grilled meats and roasted maize filled the air, and the sound of vendors hawking their wares surrounded her. She stopped at a roadside stand, indulging in cotton candy, kebabs, and fried plantains. For a brief moment, the food brought her some comfort, a fleeting happiness that eased her turmoil. As she licked an ice cream cone, Diana's attention was caught by the rhythmic thud of fists hitting a punching bag. She turned her head to see a small gym with an open window. Inside, a man was throwing powerful punches, sweat glistening on his brow. Diana paused, captivated. For the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of curiosity. Maybe I could try that someday, she thought before continuing her walk home. The next morning, Diana woke up late as usual, the sun already high in the sky. She stretched lazily and reached for the bowl of leftover snacks on her bedside table. Her plan for the day: more lounging. However, her peaceful routine was interrupted by a knock at the door. Diana shuffled to open it and found her sister, Lucy, standing there with a box of freshly grilled chicken wings, Diana's favorite. Diana's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "What's this about?" Lucy smiled sweetly, but Diana wasn't fooled. Behind her sister's generosity was always an ulterior motive. In the kitchen, Mrs. Avila joined them, raising an eyebrow at Lucy's unexpected visit. "All right, Lucy, spill it. What do you want?" Lucy sighed, placing the box on the table. "Fine, I'll get to the point. I came to talk about the inheritance." Diana blinked. "Inheritance? What inheritance?" Lucy folded her arms. "The money Mama and Papa left behind. I deserve a bigger share. After all, I've done more for this family than you ever have." Diana's jaw tightened. "Excuse me, what have you done that's so special?" "For starters," Lucy shot back, "I've worked hard and contributed to Mama's shop." "What have you done? You're over 30, Diana, and you still live here, eating and sleeping all day. Do you think that's fair?" Mrs. Avila shifted uncomfortably but didn't defend Diana. Instead, she sighed and muttered, "Lucy has a point, Diana. Maybe it's time you started thinking about your future." The words stung. Feeling ganged up on, Diana's frustration boiled over. "You know what? Fine, I'll leave. Since I'm such a burden, I'll go figure things out on my own." Mrs. Avila hesitated but eventually handed Diana a small envelope with some cash. "This should cover your first few months. Use it wisely, Diana. I only want you to grow up and stand on your own." Determined to prove everyone wrong, Diana packed her belongings and moved to a small room in the market district. It wasn't much, but it was hers. The next day, she landed a job as a waitress at a local restaurant. The pay was meager, but the free meals were a blessing. On her first shift, her boss, Mr. Cole, called her over. "Diana, go grab my cigarettes from the car outside," he said, tossing her the keys. Diana nodded and went to the car. As she searched, she heard the sound of someone behind her. She turned to see a man urinating in a corner nearby. Flustered, she accidentally pressed the car horn, causing the headlights to flash. The man turned, glaring at her. "What's wrong with you?" Embarrassed, Diana stammered, I didn't mean to. It was an accident, I swear." The man studied her for a moment, then shrugged. "Fine, just be careful next time." He walked away, leaving behind a pair of boxing gloves near the car. Diana picked him up, noticing the name, Malcolm Cohen, written on the inside. She didn't know who he was, but she decided to return them. The next morning, Diana asked around about Malcolm and eventually found herself back at the gym she had passed earlier. The rhythmic thuds of punches once again filled the air as she stepped inside. "Excuse me," she called out. "Is there a Malcolm Cohen here?" A tall, muscular man turned to face her, a curious look on his face. "I'm Malcolm. What's this about?" Diana held up the gloves. "I found these near the car yesterday. I think you dropped them." Malcolm smiled, taking the gloves. Thanks. I was wondering where they went. You're new around here, aren't you? Yeah. Diana replied, looking around the gym. I just moved to the area. Well, if you're interested, we run beginner boxing classes. Might help relieve some stress, Malcolm said, noticing her hesitation. Diana thought about it. Maybe this was what she needed. A fresh start, a way to channel her anger and prove to herself that she could be strong. All right, she said with a small smile. Sign me up. The following week, Diana returned to the gym to drop off Malcolm Cohen's gloves. The gym was buzzing with activity. People lifting weights, running on treadmills, and sparring in the ring. Diana found Malcolm near a punching bag. Hey, she called out shyly, holding up the gloves. I think these are yours. Malcolm grinned, wiping sweat off his face. You found them. Thanks, Diana. As they chatted briefly, a cheerful staff member named Louisa approached them. You know, Louisa said, smiling warmly at Diana, we're running a promotion. First month memberships are half price. You should join. Diana hesitated, her insecurities bubbling to the surface. I don't think I'm ready for that, she muttered, glancing around at the fit and athletic people in the gym. Malcolm tilted his head, observing her. You don't have to be in shape to start, Diana. Everyone begins somewhere. Besides, it's a great way to blow off steam. But Diana shook her head. Maybe another time, she said, quickly excusing herself. That evening, as she sat in her tiny apartment scrolling through her phone, Diana couldn't stop thinking about Malcolm. His easy smile, his encouraging tone, it stuck with her. On a whim, she searched for him on social media. After a bit of digging, she found his profile and, out of curiosity, tapped on one of his photos. Unfortunately, her finger slipped, and she accidentally liked it. Then another. Great, she muttered, cringing. To her surprise, Malcolm noticed and sent her a message. Hey, thanks for the likes. Smile, want to grab coffee or something at the park this weekend? Her heart skipped a beat. Was he serious? She typed back quickly, trying not to sound too eager. Sure, I'd like that. By Saturday, Diana was both excited and nervous. She arrived at the park early, wearing her best outfit. When Malcolm finally appeared, wearing a casual pink shirt and shorts, she felt her breath catch. You look great, he said, flashing his charming smile. The two walked and talked for a while. Diana shared bits of her life, her struggles, her newfound job, and her desire to turn things around. Malcolm, in turn, talked about his work at the gym. But as the conversation progressed, something felt off. So, Malcolm began hesitantly, have you thought more about joining the gym? It's really a good deal, and I could help you get started. Diana froze. Her excitement crumbled as she realized his true motive. Wait, she said, her voice shaking. Is that why you asked me here? To sell me a gym membership? Malcolm sighed, running a hand through his hair. Look, I didn't mean to upset you. The marketing team pressures me to recruit new members, and I hate it. But honestly, I think you'd benefit from it. I'm not just saying that. Heartbroken. Diana felt tears prick her eyes. I thought you wanted to get to know me, Malcolm. I'm tired of people using me. Diana, he said softly, stepping closer, I'm sorry if it came across that way. I wasn't trying to manipulate you. Let me be honest, I don't enjoy the sales stuff. My real dream is to be a professional boxer, but it's tough. The gym is just a stepping stone for me. His vulnerability surprised her. Diana studied him for a moment and saw sincerity in his eyes. Okay, she said quietly, I'll give it a shot. But not because you convinced me, because I need it for myself. The next day, Diana officially signed up at the gym. Training was grueling, and her body ached in places she didn't know could ache. But Malcolm was patient and encouraging, tailoring her workouts to build her strength gradually. As the days turned into weeks, Diana began to notice subtle changes. She felt stronger, more energetic, and, for the first time in a long while, proud of herself. Malcolm, true to his word, focused solely on her progress, even though other trainers had fitter and more glamorous clients. One afternoon, while sparring, Diana borrowed Malcolm's gloves since hers were being cleaned. As she slipped her hand into the glove, she felt something odd. Pulling it out, she found a folded piece of paper and a small plaster. Curious, she opened the note. "You're doing great. I believe in you." Her heart raced. Was this from Malcolm? Did he feel something for her? Overwhelmed with joy, she hurried to the restroom to calm herself down. But in her excitement, she accidentally threw a punch at the mirror, cracking the glass. What was that? Malcolm's voice echoed from outside. Panicking, Diana called back, "Nothing. Just slipped." She stared at her reflection, biting her lip. Maybe he does like me. Asterisk. Little did she know, the note wasn't from Malcolm at all but from Louisa, who had quietly admired Malcolm for a long time. The misunderstanding was about to lead to unexpected consequences. The gym was unusually lively in the days leading up to the regional boxing match. Diana had begun to feel a sense of belonging among the members, even though her main focus remained Malcolm. One evening, the entire gym gathered to watch a sparring match between Malcolm and another trainer, Titus. Titus, tall and muscular with an air of confidence, was a crowd favorite, especially among the women who couldn't stop gushing about his physique. But Diana barely noticed him. Her eyes were glued to Malcolm, silently rooting for him to win. The match was intense. Malcolm started strong, delivering precise jabs and quick footwork. But Titus soon overpowered him, using his size and brute strength to dominate. When the referee called the match, Titus was declared the winner. Diana's heart sank as she saw the disappointment etched across Malcolm's face. Titus was chosen to represent the gym in the regional boxing competition, a spot Malcolm had been training tirelessly for. Later that evening, the gym members went out for dinner to celebrate Titus's victory. Malcolm sat at the edge of the table, barely touching his food, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. Diana noticed his clenched jaw and the way he avoided eye contact with anyone. As the night wore on, Malcolm turned to alcohol, drowning his frustration in glass after glass. When the group decided to leave, Diana realized Malcolm could barely stand. "Malcolm," she whispered, gently grabbing his arm. "Let me take you home." "No need," he slurred, waving her off. "Don't be stubborn," Diana said firmly. "Come on." It took all her strength to help him back to her small apartment, where he collapsed onto her couch. As she draped a blanket over him, he suddenly reached for her hand, pulling her closer. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the lines blurred. Caught in the intensity of emotions, one thing led to another, and they became intimate. The next morning, Diana woke up early, her heart pounding with a mix of emotions. She tiptoed to the bathroom, splashing water on her face and applying makeup, worried about how Malcolm might react when he woke up. When he finally stirred and joined her at the table, she served him tea and breakfast. "Thanks," Malcolm muttered, rubbing his temples. "You okay?" she asked softly. He nodded but then sighed. "Diana, I've been thinking, maybe this isn't for me." "What do you mean?" she asked, her chest tightening. "I'm not cut out for this," he admitted, staring into his cup. "Losing to Titus just proved I'll never make it as a professional boxer. I'm tired of being seen as a failure." Diana's heart ached at his words. "You're not a failure, Malcolm. You've come so far. You can't just give up now." But he shook his head. "I don't see a way forward." Diana couldn't stand by and watch him give up. Fueled by her deep feelings for him, she made a bold decision. She borrowed $200 from her boss, promising to pay it back within 2 months. With the money in hand, Diana approached Titus at the gym. "Titus," she began, her voice steady. "I know you won the spot, but I need to ask you something." He raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" She hesitated before saying, "Would you step down and let Malcolm take your place?" "I'll give you $200 if you do." Titus blinked in surprise but then smirked. "You serious? Look, I don't even want to compete. I only joined the match for fun." "Fine, I'll take the money and step aside." Relieved, Diana handed him the cash. When Malcolm learned that he was suddenly back in the competition, he was overjoyed. He didn't know about Diana's sacrifice, but his renewed determination was clear. Diana threw herself into supporting him, cooking healthy meals, tracking his nutrition, and even staying late at the gym to cheer him on during training. As the competition approached, Malcolm began to shine. He lost weight, gained speed, and appeared more focused than ever. "Thanks for sticking by me, Diana," he said one night after training. "I couldn't have done this without you." But Diana's world came crashing down the day she accidentally overheard a conversation between Malcolm and a man in a suit. The man handed Malcolm an envelope stuffed with cash. "This is the deal," the man said. "Lose the fight, and you'll get another $1,000 after the match." Diana froze, her heart pounding. After the man left, she confronted Malcolm. "What was that?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Malcolm looked startled. "Diana, it's not what you think. You're taking a bribe to lose," she accused. "After everything we've done to get you here." He sighed, avoiding her gaze. "Diana, you don't understand. This money could change my life. No matter how hard I try, I'll never make this much from boxing." Her voice broke as she said, "I believed in you, Malcolm. I sacrificed for you, and this is how you repay me." "It's not about you," he snapped. "It's about survival. Dreams don't pay the bills." Diana stormed out of the gym, tears streaming down her face. The man she had admired, supported, and even fallen for had let her down. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't the end. She wouldn't let Malcolm, or herself, give up just yet. Diana froze when she saw Malcolm standing at the counter. His once confident demeanor had been replaced by a quiet humility. Sweat glistened on his forehead, his shirt was dusty, and his hands were roughened from hard labor. For a moment, neither spoke, the silence stretching between them like an unspoken question. "Diana," he said finally, his voice hesitant, as if unsure of his right to address her. "What are you doing here?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral, though her heart pounded in her chest. Malcolm glanced down at the bottle caps in his hand. "I just came to exchange these for a drink." Diana took the caps without a word and handed him a cold soda. As she placed it on the counter, their eyes met. He looked like a man carrying the weight of his choices, and despite everything, she felt a pang of sympathy. "Thanks," he muttered, turning to leave. "Wait," she called out, surprising herself. "How have you been?" He stopped and looked back, the corners of his lips twitching in a faint smile. "You mean since I messed up my life? Barely getting by. Construction work pays the bills, but," he hesitated, then added, "I heard about your transformation. You look amazing." Diana folded her arms, unsure how to respond. She had worked tirelessly to rebuild herself, physically and emotionally, but hearing it from Malcolm stirred a mixture of pride and unease. "Why are you really here, Malcolm?" she asked, cutting to the chase. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed you to hear it from me." Diana studied him for a long moment. The man standing before her was far from the arrogant trainer she had once admired. He seemed genuine, broken but trying to piece himself back together. "Malcolm," she said softly, "you hurt me in ways I didn't think I could recover from. But I've changed since then. I've grown stronger, not for anyone else, but for myself. I'm not the same woman you walked away from. I can see that," he said, his gaze earnest. "And I respect it. I wanted to apologize and wish you the best." She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Thank you. I hope you find your own path too." After Malcolm left the store, Diana felt an odd sense of closure. The man who had once crushed her spirit was now a chapter she could finally close. Her life had changed drastically since those days of despair. The next week, her coach Leon approached her with news. "Diana, there's been a last-minute change in the lineup. The main fighter dropped out, and the organizers want you to step in. It's a big match, and it could be your breakthrough." Her heart raced. This was the opportunity she had been training for, but the thought of stepping into the ring filled her with both excitement and nerves. "I'll do it," she said firmly, determination shining in her eyes. On the day of the match, the arena buzzed with energy. Diana stepped into the ring, her family cheering her on from the stands. She glanced around, spotting familiar faces, her father, Mrs. Avila, her sister Rachel, and even her boss who had forgiven her after hearing about her success. The bell rang, and the match began. Diana moved with precision and focus, each punch a testament to the months of grueling training and self-discipline. Her opponent was tough, but she refused to back down. By the final round, Diana was exhausted, but the crowd's chants of her name fueled her determination. Diana watched as the referee raised her opponent's hand in victory. The crowd cheered for the winner, but many eyes remained on Diana. She stood tall despite the aches in her body and the blood trickling from her lip. Her chest heaved with exhaustion, but a small smile tugged at her lips. She had fought with every ounce of strength and resolve she possessed, and for the first time in her life, she felt like a winner. As Diana stepped out of the ring, she was met with roaring applause, not just from her family but from strangers who admired her courage. Her coach, Leon, met her at the edge of the ring, pride glistening in his eyes. "You've made me proud, Diana," Leon said, clapping her on the shoulder. "That fight wasn't just about skill, it was about heart. And you've got plenty of that." Diana nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "I didn't win, but I didn't give up. That's a victory in itself." Her sister approached, tears in his eyes. "You've come so far, Diana. Watching you fight today, I realized you've grown into someone strong and fearless. I'm so proud of you." Her sister Lucy, who had been skeptical of her before, embraced her tightly. "I underestimated you. You've inspired me, Diana. Truly." Just as Diana was about to head to the locker room, she spotted Malcolm in the crowd. He hesitated, then made his way over to her. "Diana," he began, his voice soft, "I owe you more than an apology. Watching you tonight reminded me of what it means to fight for something real. I've been running from my mistakes, but seeing you," he trailed off, his gaze filled with admiration. "You're incredible." Diana smiled, but there was no longing in her heart for him anymore. "Thank you, Malcolm, but I've learned to fight for myself, not for anyone else. I hope you find your way, too." As she walked away from the arena, the night sky above her seemed brighter than ever. Every bruise on her body, every drop of sweat, every sacrifice, it had all been worth it. Diana wasn't the same timid woman who once sought validation from others. She was now a fighter, in every sense of the word. Back at home, Diana sat in her small room and opened her phone. For the first time, She didn't feel the need to hide or pretend to be someone she wasn't. She typed out her thoughts and posted them on social media. Tonight, I didn't win the match, but I won something far greater, myself. I've learned that life isn't about avoiding failure, it's about having the courage to stand back up, even when the odds are against you. This is just the beginning. The post quickly garnered support from friends and strangers alike, many inspired by her resilience. Months later, Diana stood in the gym, now a role model for others who wanted to transform their lives. She trained harder than ever, not for fame or recognition, but because it gave her a purpose. The gym was no longer a place of intimidation but a sanctuary of strength. One day, a young girl approached her timidly. "Miss Diana, can you teach me how to box? I want to be strong like you." Diana knelt to meet the girl's gaze and smiled warmly. "Of course, strength doesn't just come from your fists, it comes from here." She tapped her chest. "And I'll help you find it." The story of Diana didn't end in the ring, it continued in every life she touched. Her journey was a testament to the power of perseverance, proving that even in the face of failure, victory could be found. Moral of the story: life's greatest battles aren't won in arenas or against opponents but within ourselves. When you choose to rise after every fall, you've already won. Thanks so much for watching. Support this channel to grow by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and sharing this video with your loved ones and friends. May God bless you. As you do so,